warm welcome to our favourite former Met Police detective, of course. He's also host of the Crime Suspect on show on TalkTV's YouTube channel. We'll talk about that in a little while. Peter Bleksley, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Now, first of all, the Met Police Chief Mark Rowley, Sir Mark Rowley, why are they all sirs and dames, this lot? Has banned cops, his cops anyway, London cops, from wearing LGBT badges, environmental lapel pins, and also from taking the knee, because they like to watch people sort of destroy or deface and vandalise statues of Winston Churchill and take the knee while they're doing it. So he stopped them doing that. My question to you is, why were they ever allowed to do it in the first place?
Well, it's about blooming time.
Exactly.
How long have we been having conversations where I've been saying this nonsense has to stop? As far as I'm concerned, a police uniform is sacrosanct. It should be a symbol of impartiality, and that every police officer will do their job without fear or favour. Oh, this woke kind of nonsense that's happened in the last few years of officers putting adornments onto their uniforms has been utterly appalling. And I'm glad that Mark Rowley has finally taken a stand and said all of this nonsense has to stop. The only way the police can prove that they are there for everyone is by showing an allegiance to no one.
I remember a story not so long ago, a guy accused of a homophobic hate crime, probably said a nasty word to someone or something, not quite sure whether that is a crime to this day. He said that two coppers turned up on his doorstep and said, you stand accused of a homophobic hate crime, and he said, I knew I was in trouble. They're both wearing pride flags on their lapels. He said, I thought the odds are stacked against me. I mean, that's the point, isn't it?
It's entirely the point. In fact, I would take it to the nth degree, and this might not find favour with you, I have to accept, but I would not even allow police officers to wear a poppy, and I would not allow them to wear their thin blue line badges. Okay. Now, the poppy, of course, is not a sign of allegiance, it's a sign of remembrance, but we live in these woke days of white poppies and the like, so it could be perceived as an allegiance.
I take your point.
And whilst, of course, the police should honour the memory of their fallen colleagues, which is what the thin blue line patch does, if I ruled the policing world, I would have thin blue line plaques in every police station,
but not
above
on
every entrance, but not on uniform. Keep that within yourselves, please.
If you want to wear the poppy, wear it at home, but not on your uniform. I get
on your day off.
I sort of take that point. I mean, why cause problems, you know? Now, the one thing I would say about this, though, if you're a young, sort of easily influenced officer, so many of them seem to be these days, not so much in London, but if they look around the country, they say, well, they're banning me from wearing my pride badges. Well, what about all these police cars around the country that are painted in rainbow pride colours?
And the money that has been wasted on painting such cars. In fact, not so long ago, some figures came out about what various police forces had spent on pride stuff, lanyards, painting cars, face painting crayons, and you know what? They even had pride lip balm. Public money had been spent on that.
I remember you and I did that story, didn't we?
Oh,
I remember
yes,
it now.
we
it's
did.
Coming back in all my nightmares.
You'll remember how my blood pressure went through the roof.
We both got very furious about it, didn't we?
Indeed.
Well, we're laughing about it, but I do get furious about this, and I know Peter does too. Just solve crimes, fight crime. What is all this nonsense about? Now, still with alarming questions about the police, so many every day in every way. More than half of all police officers reported for abusing their position for sex in the past 5 years are still serving officers. Now, this would be you knock on a woman's door or a man, it could be either way, I suppose, and you're the officer, you use your position as a copper to inveigle your way into their affection so you can get sex. Anybody who does that should not still be a serving police officer. Would you agree?
I would entirely agree, but this raises a number of matters. Number one, the police disciplinary procedure is hideously complex. And Sir Mark Rowley has been very vocal about trying to simplify it. He doesn't want independent legal chairs presiding over police discipline boards because it's been proven statistically that those independent legal chairs are less prone to sacking cops than perhaps chief constables or deputy chief constables are. So that's why Rowley wants to roll that back and get more police officers presiding over the discipline procedures of police officers. That said, it would be remiss of me not to mention that perhaps some of these officers who had allegations against them, those allegations may have been not proven.
Yeah, sure,
For example, there may be a percentage of that. But either way, the system's clunky, it's too slow, and we do know from these stats that some have had findings against them for impropriety, and they've still not been dismissed. So a pretty ugly picture painted, really.
Des O'Connor's daughter, who complained about a detective who came round to see her because she was mugged in the street, he started saying, "Oh, you're a great-looking woman, why can't we go out for dinner," and stuff like that. And she said, "Well, I'd rather you investigated my crime, please." She complained about that. There was an inquiry, a tribunal. He was found guilty, carried on being an officer and got promoted. Why don't the police take this sort of thing seriously?
Well, I think they're going to these days because, quite simply, the likes of Carrick and Cousins, those two monsters, forgive me for mentioning their repugnant names, but those two, and of course this never-ending trail of other officers finding themselves in Crown Courts for serious sexual offences. It's been happening on an almost weekly basis. Rape, for example, other officers being jailed for these kind of offences. You can look at it one of two ways. Great, they're getting on board them, they're catching them, and they're slinging them into prison, well, the courts are. Secondly, you can look at it, well, when is it ever going to end?
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that at some point, in the not-too-distant future, we will have a police service, it's never going to be perfect, but that will overwhelmingly be staffed by upstanding public servants. I cling to that hope.